Good afternoon and welcome to another round of Discover CELPIP workshop. This workshop is being offered by IBT College. IBT College is now a member of the CELPIP network. And today I would like to cover the basics of CELPIP, why we should choose CELPIP as your official English proficiency test. I am also going to talk a little bit about the test format, how the test is scored, and some key strategies to prepare for the test. Okay, so let's get started with the basics of CELPIP. So CELPIP is 100% computer delivered, and the test assesses the 4 English language skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The advantage of CELPIP is that it focuses on functional language proficiency. So unlike IELTS, that is a little bit more academic, CELPIP focuses on everyday language. And CELPIP is designated by the IRCC as evidence of English language proficiency, as well as many other professional institutions and colleges and universities across Canada. So just so you have an idea, the CELPIP has actually 2 different tests: the CELPIP General and the CELPIP General LS. So the CELPIP General is the test that evaluates, that assesses the 4 language skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking, while the CELPIP LS, as it stands for, listening and speaking. The LS version of the test is the one used for people who are applying for Canadian citizenship, while the CELPIP General is used for people applying for permanent residency in Canada, as well as other professional organizations. So over here we have the cost of the test. So obviously CELPIP General is more expensive because it is a longer test and it's a more comprehensive test as well. A lot of people ask me, oh, what should I expect on the day of the test, the physical environment? So this is what the some of the testing centers look like. So this is on your left side, you have Ashton Testing Services. And on the right side, the Queen's Collegiate in Etobicoke. So as you can see, people will have, the test taker will have their own computer in a cubicle. They will also have their headset and microphone, but there will be many other test takers next to you. So it is important that you know that because there will be other test takers taking the test at the same time, there will be some noise. People might be doing the speaking part while you're still doing the writing part. So the most important thing to do is to definitely focus on your own test, and don't worry about whoever is sitting next to you, whoever is around you, because they are also worried about their own tests, okay? Now, let's dive in. Why should you choose CELPIP? So CELPIP has many advantages as a proficiency test. The first one is that the test, you take the test in one sitting, so you don't need to come back later to do the speaking test on another day, okay? Now, I'm going to focus a little bit on each skill of the test and the advantage of taking the CELPIP. So when it comes to the listening part of the test, you do have volume control. So because you are taking the test in a computer, you have access to controlling the volume of the audio. And the listening test, as well as the reading test, only have multiple choice questions, which is much more user-friendly. You don't really need to be trying to figure out what the task, what the questions are about, what you have to do in specific parts of the test. So all the listening and reading questions are multiple choice, okay? When it comes to the reading part, the text and the questions appear on the same screen. So later on, I will show you what the reading test screen looks like, and you will notice that you don't need to be shuffling around pages or around screen, because you will have the text on the left side of the screen and the questions with the multiple choice answers on the right side of the screen. So it's very visual for the test taker. The writing part, I would say that it's CELPIP has pretty much revolutionized the writing part of the test, because it not only offers the word count, but also some editing tools, including spell check, cutting and pasting options, just like the Word document. The advantage of the spell check is that in case you make a mistake, in case you make a typo, it will appear underlined on the word, right? That, let's say that you write little and you spell little with only one T instead of two T's. So it will appear that that word is not spelled correctly, and you have a chance to correct yourself and therefore not be penalized for a spelling mistake. So I do think this is a very important advantage of the CELPIP writing test. The speaking test is also computer-based, so you don't need to worry about making eye contact, about your body language, because all you will do is to record your speech, and then the examiners will listen to your voice, will listen to you. So that also prevents people from being so anxious about meeting someone face to face during the speaking test. And the most important thing about CELPIP is that it has time management tools. So for all 4 parts of the test, you have a timer at the top of the page, and you will be able to manage your time accordingly. Plus, CELPIP uses Canadian English, and it also has convenient dates and flexible scheduling. So in case you need to reschedule because you for some reason you need to, you can't take the test and you need to reschedule the test, it does offer that that opportunity for you, okay? The scoring results are very quick, so they come within 4 to 5 business days, and this is a great advantage of the test as well, and all the results are online. Okay, so now I would like to jump into the format of the test, just so you understand what to expect. So as I mentioned before, the test has 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and the speaking session. And the test duration is approximately 3 hours, okay? So over here, we have the number of questions for each section, how many parts, and the time to each section. So you expect to spend 50 minutes in the listening test, pretty much the same amount of time in the reading test, 55 minutes. The writing test has 2 parts, so writing task 1 and writing task 2. The first task is 27 minutes and the second task is 26 minutes for a total of 55 minutes overall. And the speaking test has 8 parts. We can also call it 8 tasks. and you will spend approximately 20 minutes during the speaking test. Okay, so now let's get straight to the first part of the test, which is the listening. And I am going to talk a little bit about the listening test and give you some key strategies. Okay, so the listening test is the listening test, as I mentioned, has the audio passage that will be played only once. Okay, so the audio passages will be played only once, but for each part of the listening test, the audio passage will be previewed. What does it mean? It means that on the screen, they will indicate the people who are going to be talking about and the general topic that they will be talking about. So I will jump right into that part in a few seconds. The questions will come after the audio. So first you will listen to the dialogue, the conversation, or whatever one speaker is talking about, and then the questions will come right after the audio. You won't see the questions, but instead you will listen to the questions, and you will have 30 seconds to answer each question. Paper and pencil will be provided for you to take notes, and note taking is a very important skill to develop, so you can be better prepared to answer the questions. Okay. What kind of audio passages you will encounter in the listening test? So you will find actually three types of passages. You will find conversations, three types: conversations, a conversation with video, and a single speaker talking. Okay, so in parts 1, 2, and 3, parts 1, 2, and 3 are very similar. You will have a conversations between two people in parts 1, 2, and 3. Then in part 4, there will be one single speaker talking about a news item. And part 5, you will listen and watch a video, and there will be 3 or more people speaking, talking. And then in part 6, you will have one single speaker talking again. Now, let's take a look at one sample question for the conversation type of questions. As you can see, this is one of the screens that you will have for the listening part. This is listening part 2. So in listening part 2, it says, listen to a daily life conversation. On the left side of your screen, you will have the audio. So you have control of this volume button. Of course, unfortunately, you don't have control over the audio, so you can fast forward or rewind the audio, and the audio will be played only once. And then on the right side, you will have the options to the questions. Okay, so in part 2, there are 5 questions about that audio. You will listen to each question, and you will have 30 seconds to answer each question. So the time remaining appear here on, at the top of the screen, and that's a great tool for you to manage your time. Okay, so let's now talk about some of the strategies and what are some of the things that you should listen to when you are listening to conversations in part 1, 2, and 3. So some of the things that you should pay attention to are, who are the speakers? You don't need to worry about the names of the speakers, but what are their roles? What are their role in this conversation? What's the relationship between those speakers? How do they know each other? What are they talking about? So what is the main idea, the general idea of that conversation? If there is a problem, what What is it? What kind of problem are they discussing? Another important thing to listen to is the mood. How do they feel about what they are talking about? Okay. And if there is a problem, what is the solution to that problem? What's the outcome of that conversation? What would probably happen next? So these are some of the questions that you would like to identify while you are listening to the conversations 1, 2, and 3, as well as conversation 5, in which you're going to have a video as well. Okay. So speaking of conversation with a video, I'd like to mention the difference between the conversations 1, 2, and 3, and then the conversation with the video. So over here, you have the screen, a sample question, a sample screen of the video in the listening test. And it says here, watch the discussion. You will watch the discussion only once. It is about 1.5 to 2 minutes long. So while you watch this discussion, you should be taking notes, and you should also be paying attention to those questions. Who are these people? How are they related? What are they talking about? What's the problem? But the video helps you identify some visual cues about these people, okay? Because some of the questions might be, what does the man holding a map think about something, okay? What kind of information does the woman with a backpack give? So it is important for you to identify who these people are, the visual cues, just to help you identify who these people are, okay? Now let's talk a little bit about the strategies for the listening parts 4 and 6. So in part 4 and 6, you are going to listen to a single speaker. So there won't be a dialogue, a conversation, okay? In part 4, this single speaker will be sharing a news item, okay, a piece of news. And then in part 6, this speaker will be talking about a debate, like a question. And then this person will bring some different viewpoints, different opinions about this question, about this debate. So some of the things that you are going to listen to are, first of all, obviously, you need to identify the topic. What is this person talking about? Okay. You should also identify some of those detailed questions. What is happening? Where? When? How? But mostly important, you should pay attention to some of these cues: pauses, intonation, and stressed words. Why are these cues important? They are important because usually when we make a pause during a speech, it means that we are going to transition to something else, okay? So these pauses, they help us transition to another part of this topic. The intonation and the stressed words are also very important because usually speakers, they stress important information, just like what I'm doing now, important information. So you should pay attention to their intonation and how they are presenting that information, okay? When it comes to the content, the information, you do want to pay attention again to the main topic, key details, and especially in part 6, what are facts and what are opinions? Because in part 6, listening part 6, which is the most difficult one, the speaker will talk about a debate And then this person will bring some opinions, different opinions about that question, about that debate. Okay, so identifying what these opinions are and who holds those opinions, it's also very important, and it will help you succeed in the listening part 6. So let's just to review some of the key strategies of the listening test. The first one is focus on what you understand, okay? Many times when we are listening to something, to someone, we don't catch everything that people are saying. We don't catch every piece of information. Don't panic. Focus on what you are catching. Focus on what you understand, okay? Take useful notes. Note-taking is a key strategy to succeed in a listening test, because when you are taking useful notes, you are pretty much working with your brain to remember and to save that piece of information. Even though when it comes to the questions, you might not have time to be revisiting your notes, but when you're taking notes, you are organizing that piece of information in your brain. Make sure that you recognize key details. So key details are how people are related to each other, what's happening, where, when, processes, how things happen, classifying information, comparing information. So these are some key details to be listened to and that you should focus on, okay? When it comes to the questions and answers, the listening test will kind of trick us, not only the listening, but also the reading test, will trick us with and answer choices. So there will be multiple choice, 4 multiple choices, right? But the right answer will be paraphrased. The right answer won't repeat the exact same words from the listening passage. Instead, the right answer will be paraphrased. What is a paraphrase? Using the same idea with different words, conveying the same ideas using different words, okay? And finally, make sure that you answer every single question. You don't get penalized by making mistake, but you need to answer every single question so you can stand a chance, okay? All right, so now let's move on to the reading test. The reading test uses very similar, we should use very similar strategies, key strategies that we also use in the listening test, because both reading and listening are receptive skills. In other words, we are receiving information, okay? So the reading test, as I mentioned before, the text is on the left side of the page, and then the instructions and the working area will appear on the right side. You also have the countdown timer to help you manage the time for you to read and answer the questions. And just like in the listening test, the reading task, passages, and questions get harder, okay? So this is an example, a sample question of reading part 1, which is reading correspondence. As I mentioned, left side is your text, and then the right side, you have the questions and your working area. So you will click on this part, and you will you have a scroll, a multiple choice answers. Okay. So the question here is, how should you spend your time during a reading task? So that page pops up during the reading test. You have 11 minutes, okay? Because over here, you're going to have 11 questions. I'm sorry, 10 questions. So you have 11 minutes to answer to all of these questions. And a lot of people, they panic. They say, oh, should I read the questions first? Should I read the text? Should I try to read one paragraph and answer questions. So how should you spend your time during a reading task? Well, the first thing that you should do is to make sense of the page at all, okay? So make sense of what's in front of you. So you have, what do you have here? Over here, you have an email. We know that we have an email because we have here, right, the greeting, and then we have the closing of the email, the sign off. So this is an email. And then we have some questions about this email. And finally, what we have here is a response to this email. So we have an email and then we have a response to the message. Oh, okay. So Maria wrote an email here to Mia. Now we have Mia replying to Maria. So what we have is a reply. And that's what reading part 1 is. Reading correspondence. You will have an email, 6 comprehension questions. Then you're going to have a reply to that email and some questions that are for you to fill in the blanks of that reply. Okay? So so after you make sense of what's happening here, you should read the passage to get the main idea. So you are reading this passage quickly in about 2 minutes so you can get the main idea of this message. Then you go to the questions and you try to answer as many questions as you can, but you won't be able to answer many questions because you need to use another strategy, which is the scanning for detailed information. And then you're going to be going back and forth, identifying some keywords in the questions and finding those keywords in the text so you can find where the answers are. Okay, so for you to wisely manage your time, you should first review the screen, skim the passage. So skimming is when you read quickly just to get the general information. Then you go to the questions, read the questions, and you scan the passage for detailed information. And you're going to be doing that back and forth, okay? Identify key information in the question and try to find the portion of the text that has that information. Make sure that you answer all the questions because, once again, you don't get penalized by answering wrong. But if you don't answer, you don't stand a chance, okay? So some of the key strategies here, especially for you to manage your time, don't spend more than 2 minutes skimming the text, reading for the general information, okay? Aim for general understanding. Then you're going to read the question and find the answers, and you're going to do this back and forth. Important tip here. Watch for answers to be paraphrased in the answer choices. What does it mean? It means that the right answer will not repeat the exact same word from the text. Instead, that information will be paraphrased. Okay, so I'm going to move right on to the writing test because our time is really squeezed here. So the writing test has 2 tasks, okay? I will show you the 2 tasks in a few minutes. And what does the screen look like? So on the left side of the screen, you're going to have the background information. And on the right side of the screen, you will be given the specific instructions of what you have to do, and you're going to have the working area. Okay, so the background information is the situation. So what's the situation that you're going to be writing about? And then on the right side is your working area. and the very specific instructions on what you should write, okay? So as I mentioned in the beginning of this workshop, the writing test counts on basic editing tools, which is a great thing to do, word count. So you can cut and paste. You can identify spelling mistakes because words that are misspelled are going to be underlined, okay? And the word count is also important because you don't need to be counting every single word as you would have to if you were to take the IELTS, for example, right? The word count appears on your screen, and it is important to ensure that you write between 150 and 200 words per task. So each task, you must write between 150 and 200 words. For task 1, you will be given 27 minutes to complete, and task 2, 26 minutes. So the time is very similar for both tests. Okay, so this is writing task 1. So writing task 1, in writing task 1, you will write an email, okay? So as I mentioned before, left side of the page, you have your background information, the situation. So let's read this together. It says here, you recently made reservations for dinner at a very famous and expensive restaurant in town. However, the meal and the service were terrible. The restaurant manager was not available to solve the problem, so you left without a solution. Okay. Now, what are you going to do with this information? Write an email to the restaurant manager in about 150 and 200 words. Your email should do the following things. State what problems you had with the food you ordered. Complain about the service. Describe how you want the restaurant to resolve the problem to your satisfaction. And right here is your working area. So here, these 3 bullet points are going to be the parts that you are going to create a story, okay? So you know what you have to do. You have to write an email to the restaurant's manager. So you know who the recipient of the email will be, the restaurant manager. So you're going to begin your email by writing, Dear Restaurant's Manager, okay? Or Dear Manager, per se. You don't need to include subject, email address. So you are just focusing on the content of the email. Dear Manager. The first paragraph is going to be the purpose of your writing, why you are writing. I'm writing this to complain about the food and the service that I received at your restaurant. So now you're going to start creating a little story. So state what problems you had. Maybe you can say that the food, when the food was cold or the food was not well prepared. You can say maybe that the food you ordered came wrong. You ordered, let's say, a steak, and instead you received chicken. Okay, so you need to create a little story and develop around that story. Then you are going to complain about the service. So the next paragraph will be your complaint about the service. Maybe you can say that when you complain about the problem of the food, the problem with the food, the server, the waiter or the waitress didn't like it and didn't really solve your problem. Okay, so now you have to come up with a situation in which you are expressing your dissatisfaction, dissatisfaction with the service. And finally, another paragraph will be devoted to describe how you want the restaurant to resolve this problem. So maybe You can ask the manager to issue a refund for that food, for the bill, or maybe ask the manager to review or to train their employees better. So how you would like that problem to be resolved, okay? So you can, just like in every email, you can maybe express how you can be contacted, and you politely sign off. Okay. So the next task 2, is responding to survey questions. So that's the name of task 2, responding to survey question. So what are you going to do here? Over here, you are going to have a situation again on the left side of your screen, and on the right side of your screen, you're going to have your working area and the instructions to what you must do. So let's read this information for the survey question. Vacation time or job training? You work in a small office. The boss wants to reduce vacation time by 2 days, but send everyone in the office to a nice beachside hotel for 4 days of job training. Some of the staff are very happy with this idea. Others are upset. The boss asked you to respond to an opinion survey. So that's what task 2 will be about, responding to a survey question. You will be given a situation and 2 options, and you must choose which option you prefer. So here is what you must do. Choose the option that you prefer. Why do you prefer your choice? Explain your reasons for your choice. Write about 150 and 200 words. The options will appear as option A and option B. Option A, I think we should keep our vacation time instead of going to the training. Option B, I think we should do the training and cut back our vacation time. There's no right or wrong here. Any option, either option is valid, either option is correct, but you must explain the reasons why you choose the option that you choose, okay? It is important that you pick an option, that you don't sit on the fence, right? You need to argue for the option that you choose. How are you going to do that? You are going to go straight to the point and say, in my opinion, going on keeping our vacation is a better option than actually cutting some vacation time and going for training. So that would be option A. Or you can say, I think option A will bring more benefits to the employees, okay? So the first thing that you are going to do is to clearly express what your option is, okay? Then you are going to start arguing for your option by giving reasons why you chose the option that you chose, okay? You can use some personal examples, you can use some facts, you can use some details for you to support your decision, okay? So you should be writing between 2-3 paragraphs here, but you don't really need to worry about a whole essay structure of introduction, many body paragraphs, and conclusion as you would have to do on IELTS, okay? So basically, you're just going to state your option, write 2 good paragraphs explaining your choice, giving the reasons to support your argument, and a very short concluding paragraph, or even a concluding sentence within one of those paragraphs. Okay, so It is very, very useful to understand how your writing is going to be assessed and how it's going to be scored, okay? So the examiners are going to look at 4 categories to assess your writing. The first one is content and coherence. So the factors that are going to be taken into consideration for content and coherence are how many ideas you present, the quality of your ideas, so how deep you talk about your ideas, how you organize your ideas, the examples and supporting details that you use, okay? The second category that's going to be taken into consideration is vocabulary. So vocabulary, we're talking about your word choice, word range, if you're not repeating words, if your words are precise and accurate, and if you have a suitable use of words and phrases according to that task, okay? Readability is another category. So readability has to do with grammar, with structure, okay? So how's your sentence structure? Are you using too many simple sentences, or you're using a variety of sentences, compound, complex sentences? It is important to use a good range of sentence structure, connectors, transitions, different verb tenses, and tenses that are appropriate to the task as well. Spelling and punctuation should also be taken into consideration. We should never overlook spelling and punctuation because they make a huge difference. And finally, the last category is task fulfillment. So task fulfillment, the question here is, did you answer the question? Okay. Did you answer the question completely? Did you answer the question in, did you stay within the range of 150 and 200 words? How about the tone? If you were writing a message, if you're writing an email to a restaurant manager, are you being polite? Are you being too soft? Are you being too strict? So the tone is also very important and taken into account here. Okay, so to finalize the writing portion, I'd like to just go over some key strategies. Make sure that you read all instructions carefully before you start writing. A lot of people, they are too anxious to start writing right away, but it is important to spend a few minutes brainstorming, organizing your ideas, and making sure that you understand what the task is asking you to do, okay? Make sure also that you provide some logical support for your ideas. Sometimes when we start writing, we derail and we go off task. So you don't want to go off topic. You want to focus on a topic and make sure that your ideas are logical. Try to diversify your vocabulary. If you're using repeated words, that will count against you. So when you finish writing, review your writing, review everything that you've written, and make sure that you diversify your vocabulary, okay? Tone is important. You don't want to sound too harsh. You don't want to sound too soft. The tone will be adjusted to the task that you are writing. So what is the what's the task? What do you have to do? Are you writing to a restaurant manager, or you're writing to your grandparents, inviting them over for a holiday? Okay, so depending on the recipient, you will vary your tone and use the appropriate tone. Make sure to use connectors, transitional words, so your writing flows. And last but not least, make sure to review your work. It is wise to leave at least 4 minutes before the end of the task, before time is up, so you can review your work and you can make those adjustments, okay? Vocabulary, grammar, tone, organizing your ideas. So reviewing your work can play an important role, and it can make a big difference on your score as well. Okay, so now let's go to the last part of the test, which is the speaking test. The speaking test has 8 parts, which are also called 8 tasks, okay? Some of the tasks will be a text, a short text with an image. Others will be just a text. You will have preparation time for each one of those tasks and the speaking time as well, okay? All of your responses will be recorded, and they're going to be rated later by an examiner. So here are the number of questions and the component sections. So these are I would say the component sections are the topics that you are expected to answer, to talk about, okay? So the first one is a practice task. The practice task is unscore. You don't need to worry about it. It is just for you to test your equipment, your headset, your microphone, and then you will have 1 question to each one of these tasks, okay? So task 1, you are going to give some advice. In task 2, you're going to be talking about a personal experience that happened in the past. Task 3, you will be describing a scene. So you will see an image, a picture. In task 4, you will have the same picture as you saw in task 3, but this time, instead of describing what you see, you are going to make predictions about what you think will happen next. In task 5, you are going to compare and persuade. So you will be presented with 2 items to compare. You will be asked to choose 1 item, and then the item that you choose, you will then have to convince, to persuade someone to go with the item that you selected. In task 6, you're going to be dealing with a difficult situation. So there's a choice element here. You're going to have to choose whom you will be talking to explain a difficult situation. In task 7, you will need to express your opinion on a topic, say if you agree or disagree with a situation, with a statement. And then in task number 8, you will be presented with a picture as well. And then you need to describe that picture, but you also need to call someone and do something related to that picture, okay? So this is called describing an unusual situation, and it is one of the most challenging tasks because this picture is a bizarre picture. Okay, so for the speaking task, the scoring categories are very similar to the writing test, because just like in the speaking test, you are producing language, right? But instead of, unlike the writing test in which you're going to be producing written language, now you're going to be producing spoken oral language. So again, the 4 categories are the same: content and coherence, vocabulary, listenability instead of readability, and task fulfillment. The factors are pretty much the same. So when it comes to your speaking, the raters are going to be looking at the number of ideas that you use to answer the questions, the quality of your ideas, how you organize your speech, the examples and supporting details. When it comes to the vocabulary, your word choice is important. You should diversify your vocabulary. You should also use suitable use of words and phrases according to, the task that you are doing. And in listenability now, we're not looking at spelling and punctuation, but now we are looking at the pronunciation, okay? So is your speech clear? Do you pronounce your words clearly? How's your rhythm, intonation, okay? So if you are talking to a friend, you should have a friendly intonation. If you are calling your boss, you should also have a friendly, perhaps more formal tone as well. So tone comes in task fulfillment, but it is important to use clear pronunciation and according intonation. If you make too many pauses, you will suffer, okay? So that will be discounted, but you don't want to make too many pauses. Pauses are a natural part of speaking, especially when we are organizing our ideas, but too many pauses will affect your score, okay? If you notice that you made a mistake, correct yourself. Self-correction shows that you know the language and you just had a slip of the tongue. Okay. And then when it comes to task fulfillment, relevance. So are you answering to the question? If you're asking to give advice and you talk about your weekend, it's not relevant. You should stay on topic. Okay. Completeness. So completeness here means to speak for the time being. So if you have 60 seconds to complete one task, you should spend 60 seconds speaking. Try not to stop speaking more than 15 seconds before time is up, because otherwise the raters won't have enough material, enough language sample to rate you, okay? So you should speak for the time, for the whole time that you are expected to. The tone, as I mentioned, and the length is also important. So to finalize, I'd like to talk about some key strategies of the speaking test. So use your preparation time to understand the question and write down some key vocabulary. The preparation time is usually not enough for you to think about everything that you're going to say, but the preparation time gives you enough time to understand and to formulate a little bit what you are going to say, okay? Once again, speak for the full recording time. You do want to talk for the whole time so that the raters have enough material sample, enough sample to assess you. Make sure to include details to make your response interesting. So you want to extend your response a little bit. Use good intonation. Avoid speaking too fast. It's better to speak slowly and clearly than speaking too fast and nobody understand anything that you say. Correct yourself if you notice that you made a mistake, and try to minimize pauses and interjections. So you want to use language that you are familiar with. You don't want to impress the rater by using words that you're not comfortable with. So make sure that you're using the language that you're comfortable with so you can minimize too many pauses and interjections, okay? Okay, so now I'd like to talk a little bit about the preparation course, the CELPIP preparation course that we have at IBT College. So we have this preparation course in which we are going to look very carefully at each part of the test. So I am going to be talking about specific strategies and key strategies for you to manage your time wisely in the listening, reading, and then when it comes to the writing and the speaking, how you can produce good and successful responses, okay? So the course at IBT College is 100% online. Classes are personalized to cater to our students' needs, right? So we're not going, this is a workshop, so the workshop is more general, but the classes are going to be very personalized to make sure that all the skills that need to be practiced are going to be practiced. We do have a couple of options here. So we have the Discover CELPIP Comprehensive course, which focuses on these 4 parts of the test, okay? You will be learning key vocabulary used in the exam so you can build your vocabulary skills. We are also going to be talking about how examiners will rate your speaking and writing responses. We do use the rubric, the same rubric that is used by the examiners at the CELPIP. So by looking at those rubrics and comparing your responses against those rubrics, you have an idea of what score you will be getting at the writing and speaking test. So that is one of the options. This is the most comprehensive option, and the duration of this course is 8 weeks. So it is 32 hours twice a week for 2 hours each session, okay? The second option that we have is the CELPIP Pro Speaking and Writing. So this course offers in-depth guidance on the speaking and writing test. So you will be able to plan your writing responses. We're going to look at some successful writing templates. We're going also to look at some responses, CLB 7 to a CLB 12 response to compare, how to organize and respond each speaking question type. And obviously, we always focus on key language and vocabulary building, okay? So this course is 2 weeks. So each course, the speaking course is 2 weeks, and the writing course is also 2 weeks. We also offer 2 weekly sessions of 2 hours each. So again, this is a little bit of a more comprised course, but it's just going to focus on speaking and writing. And we also offer some individual sessions for people who would like to have the instructor devote their full attention to your specific CELPIP goals, so that those one-on-one sessions are really, really helpful for people who just need to focus on specific strategies or specific part of the test, okay? So this is a very flexible option. So the frequency of the lessons, the time can be determined by the student and the instructor. So these classes, they are charged by hour, so the fee is charged by hour, and you can book as many sessions as you want, okay? So I would like to thank you all for listening to this workshop, attending this workshop, and consider the course options at IBT College. And once again, I will be very glad to help you succeed in your CELPIP journey, okay? If you need any information, any additional information, you can contact me and visit ibtcollege.com to register for the course. Thank you very much.